Raw strength of Titan. Jirobo, one of the Sound Four, may not be the most cunning or fastest fighter, but he is a force of pure brute strength. When his curse mark reaches its second stage, his body undergoes a monstrous transformation. His skin turns deep red, his hair becomes stark white, and his muscles swell to an incredible size. He looks less like a shinobi and more like a demon built for war. The most defining trait of Jirobo's curse mark is its massive enhancement of physical strength. With this power, he can lift and throw enormous objects, including an enlarged Choji, as if they were mere pebbles. His punches carry enough force to send opponents flying, and his endurance allows him to take heavy hits without faltering. This power boost comes from the way the curse mark channels chakra directly into his muscles, amplifying both his offensive and defensive capabilities. Jirobo doesn't rely on complex jutsu or specialized techniques. Instead, his fighting style is straightforward, overwhelming the enemy with raw, unrelenting force. While his abilities make him a fearsome opponent in close combat, they also highlight his weaknesses. His reliance on brute strength means he struggles against faster, more tactical fighters. Despite this, in a battle of sheer physical dominance, few can match the monstrous power granted by his curse mark. Before we jump to the next part, we want to take a moment to thank you all for your incredible support. We're on our way to 10,000 subscribers, and every single one of you makes this journey even more exciting. If you love Naruto as much as we do, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and share this video to help us reach even more fans. Your support keeps us going. Now, Deadly Spider Sniper. Kidomaru is a predator. With his spider-like abilities and strategic mind, he turns the battlefield into his hunting ground. When the curse mark evolves into the next stage, his transformation is grotesque, yet terrifyingly efficient. His skin darkens, his body mutates with extra arms sprouting from his back, and a third eye emerges on his forehead. This is an evolution designed for precision and lethality. The most lethal aspect of Kidomaru's curse mark lies in his giant bow and arrow technique. Unlike ordinary weapons, his bow is crafted entirely from the golden spider silk he produces, an incredibly durable and flexible substance. His arrows, infused with chakra, become so dense that they can pierce through the toughest defenses. However, the true challenge lies in drawing the bowstring. The force required is so immense that only the enhanced strength from the curse mark allows him to pull it back. This is what makes his attacks devastating. Every shot is a high-velocity projectile, capable of cutting through trees, armor, and even powerful chakra shields. The addition of his third eye turns him into the ultimate marksman. This extra eye sharpens his perception beyond human limits, calculating trajectories with perfect accuracy. Even from extreme distances, his shots become nearly impossible to evade. Combined with his natural ability to stick to walls and control his battlefield from above, he becomes an unstoppable long-range assassin. But like any predator, he has his weaknesses. While his long-range abilities are unmatched, he is far less effective in close combat. Fighters who manage to get past his web of traps and force him into direct confrontation can exploit this flaw. However, against an opponent unaware of his tactics, Kidomaru's curse mark makes him a nightmare, an unseen hunter whose prey rarely escapes alive. Twin Terrors of Fusion. Among the Sound Four, Seikon and Ukon are the most unsettling. They are not just two shinobi working together, they are one being, capable of splitting apart and merging at will. Upon unlocking the advanced form of their curse mark, their bodies undergo a disturbing transformation. Their skin darkens into an eerie shade, their muscles contort, and their ability to manipulate their own flesh becomes even more horrifying. The true terror of their power lies in their body separation technique. Unlike most tag team fighters, Seikon and Ukon can physically detach from each other, creating an unpredictable, multi-angle assault. One can attack head-on, while the other blindsides the enemy. This makes them nearly impossible to pin down in a conventional fight. But their most nightmarish ability is the parasitic invasion jutsu. Ukon can fuse his body directly into his opponent, infiltrating their flesh on a microscopic level. Once inside, he doesn't immobilize them. He starts breaking down their internal organs from within. His victim suffers agonizing damage, often dying before they can even react. The curse mark plays a vital role here, fueling their cellular regeneration and allowing them to maintain this terrifying technique longer than any normal shinobi could. Defensively, Seikon and Ukon possess another deadly advantage, the ability to summon Rashomon, a massive, nearly indestructible gate capable of withstanding the most brutal attacks. This monstrous barrier ensures that even if their enemy fights back, they have a near impenetrable defense to fall behind. Yet, for all their strengths, their power comes at a cost. The fusion technique, while deadly, also makes them vulnerable. If their host suffers critical damage, so do they. This double-edged nature of their ability means that against the wrong opponent, their ultimate weapon can turn into their greatest weakness. But in the right battle, the curse mark transforms them into something truly terrifying, an enemy who ensuring your destruction from the inside out. Cursed Melody of Death. Among the Sound Four, Tayuya wields a power unlike any other. While her comrades rely on brute force, deadly weaponry, or monstrous transformations, her strength comes from sound itself. With her flute as her instrument of destruction, she doesn't need to physically touch her opponents. She traps them in a world of agony before they even realize what's happening. As her curse mark transforms to the next phrase, Tayuya undergoes a chilling transformation. Her skin darkens, twisted horns sprout from her forehead, and an overwhelming surge of chakra courses through her body. This form does more than enhance her physical abilities. It turns her genjutsu into a near unbreakable nightmare. Her deadliest technique, Mugen Ansa, is a genjutsu created entirely through sound waves. The moment her flute plays, the enemy is caught in her illusion. Their body freezes, their mind drowns in agony, and escape becomes nearly impossible. Even skilled shinobi like Shikamaru struggle against it, proving just how powerful this technique becomes under the influence of the curse mark. She is a genjutsu specialist. Her physical strength is also amplified, allowing her to hold her own in direct combat. This enhancement was evident when she briefly resisted Shikamaru's shadow possession jutsu, a feat that few could achieve through sheer force alone. What makes her truly dangerous is the enhanced chakra infusion provided by the curse mark. Her genjutsu, her illusions last longer, become harder to dispel, and hit with even more intensity. Those trapped inside feel as if their body is truly being torn apart, despite the lack of physical wounds. It's a psychological assault that leaves even the strongest opponents vulnerable. However, her techniques have a major flaw. If the enemy can block out her sound, her power is rendered useless. This was ultimately her downfall against Shikamaru. But against an unprepared foe, Tayuya becomes an untouchable menace, an illusionist who doesn't need to chase her prey because they've already lost the moment they hear her song. Undying Blade of Bone. Among Orochimaru's most loyal subordinates, Kimimaro Kaguya stood as a warrior of unparalleled resilience. His devotion was absolute, his will unshakable, and his strength terrifying. Yet what made him truly fearsome was not only his combat skill, but the deadly fusion of his Shikotsu Myaku, Dead Bone Pulse, and the curse mark. This combination turned his entire body into a living weapon, capable of withstanding and executing attacks beyond human limits. When Kimimaro activated Curse Mark Stage 2, his transformation was both grotesque and awe-inspiring. His once pale skin darkened to a sickly hue, his body sprouted jagged bone protrusions, and a long, whip-like tail extended from his spine. In this form, his control over his bones became even more refined, allowing him to manipulate them with greater speed, density, and lethality. Kimimaro's power was a deadly combination of technique, adaptability, and unshakable discipline. One of his most terrifying abilities was his bone armor, a natural defense that made him nearly indestructible. He could grow an additional layer of dense bone beneath his skin, rendering most physical attacks useless. Even weapons that could pierce human flesh shattered against his reinforced skeletal structure. This natural armor, when combined with his agility and combat instinct, made him one of the most durable shinobi to ever walk the battlefield. Kimumaro's offensive capabilities abilities were equally fearsome. He could extend his bones as weapons, forming sword-like structures from his arms, spears from his ribcage, and even a deadly whip from his spine. This level of bone manipulation gave him an unpredictable fighting style. One moment, he was slicing through enemies at close range, and the next, he was striking from a distance with razor-sharp bone projectiles. His attacks were not only fast, but also impossible to anticipate, as he could regenerate and reshape his bones mid-combat to counter any opponent's strategy. However, his ultimate technique, Forest of Bones, was the pinnacle of his deadly abilities. In Curse Mark. Stage 2, Kimimaro could unleash an entire battlefield of massive bone spikes, erupting from the ground to impale anything in their path. This technique was both an offensive and defensive maneuver, turning the entire terrain into his weapon while leaving his enemies with nowhere to escape. Only the fastest and most skilled fighters had any chance of avoiding its lethal reach. However, this ability required an immense amount of chakra, making it a trump card that could only be used in the most desperate situations. Yet, despite his overwhelming strength, Kimimaro's greatest weakness was not his combat ability, but his fragile body. His terminal illness, a cruel twist of fate, robbed him of the opportunity to fully realize his potential. Even in his final battle against Rock Lee and Gaara, his willpower allowed him to keep fighting long after his body should have collapsed. His final attack was only stopped because his disease claimed his life before his enemy could. Kimimaro was a symbol of unwavering loyalty, discipline, and wasted potential. Had he been born without his illness, he could have become one of the most unstoppable forces in the shinobi world. Even in death, his legacy remained as one of the most formidable users of the curse mark, and a reminder of what happens when great power is left unfulfilled. Berserker of natural energy. Jugo was different from others who were artificially given the curse mark. He was the original source, the man whose body naturally possessed the ability to absorb and channel nature energy in a way no one else could. This trait made him both a terrifying warrior and a living enigma. However, this gift came with a heavy burden. Jugo's power was uncontrollable. His emotions dictated his strength, and at his worst, he became nothing more than a rampaging beast, driven by bloodlust and destruction. What made Jugo unique was that he could transform parts, or even his entire body, at will, adapting his form based on the demands of battle. This ability was far more versatile than the standard curse mark, which had fixed transformations. Jugo could morph his arms into massive club-like weapons, turn his skin into hardened armor, or extend blades from his body for deadly close-range combat. Others had to enter different stages, but Jugo's transformation was fluid, allowing him to shift between offense and defense instantly. One of his most devastating techniques was his chakra propellers. By reshaping parts of his body into rotational thrusters, Jugo could launch himself at blinding speeds, delivering attacks with force comparable to explosions. When used offensively, they could generate immense impact force, sending enemies flying or even breaking through solid defenses. Combined with his monstrous strength, this made Jugo nearly unstoppable in direct combat. However, his raw power was not limited to brute force. Jugo could also release concentrated blasts of chakra, firing them as devastating projectiles capable of causing widespread destruction. This technique set him apart from other curse mark users, who relied on physical augmentation alone. While his chakra cannon required immense energy, it gave him an advantage in ranged combat, something few powerhouse fighters possessed. Despite his destructive potential, Jugo was not an inherently evil person. His violent tendencies were not driven by ambition or hatred, but by an uncontrollable rage that surged through him whenever he absorbed too much nature energy. This was the reason he sought Orochimaru, to find a way to suppress his uncontrollable urges. Though Orochimaru never truly helped him, his research on Jugo's abilities led to the creation of the curse mark, a twisted attempt to replicate his natural gifts in others. Jugo's greatest struggle was not with enemies, but with himself. Jugo feared his own power. He knew that once he lost control, he could harm even those closest to him. This inner battle defined his journey, making him one of the most tragic figures in the world of Naruto. Even after joining Sasuke's team, his primary goal remained the same: to find balance between his humanity and the monster within. In the end, Jugo was the living embodiment of the curse mark's raw, untamed potential. Where others sought power for glory, Jugo simply wished to exist without hurting those around him. Yet, as long as his rage remained, he would always be walking the thin line between protector and destroyer. Dark Wings of Vengeance. Among all those who bore Orochimaru's curse mark, Sasuke Uchiha was the most formidable. His strength did not come solely from the curse mark itself, but from his unmatched talent, intelligence, and unwavering willpower. While others were consumed by its corruption, Sasuke mastered its power, bending it to his will and using it as a stepping stone toward his ultimate goal, defeating his brother, Itachi Uchiha. When Sasuke activated Curse Mark Stage 2, his body underwent a terrifying transformation. His once fair skin darkened into an ominous gray, his eyes burned with an eerie intensity, and most notably, a pair of massive, demonic wings unfurled from his back. These wings were not merely an aesthetic change, they served as weapons, shields, and an extension of his combat abilities. Different from many other Curse Mark users, Sasuke demonstrated exceptional control over his transformation. He could activate specific parts of it without fully committing to the monstrous form. This selective transformation allowed him to block attacks using a single wing, enhance his physical strength temporarily, or channel the Curse Mark's chakra into his Sharingan for heightened perception. His mastery over this power set him apart, proving that he was not bound by Orochimaru's influence. He was the one in control. The demonic wings granted Sasuke an advantage in multiple ways. They provided enhanced mobility, allowing him to glide through the air, execute mid-air maneuvers, and leap extraordinary distances. This increased agility made him one of the most elusive and unpredictable fighters on the battlefield. Beyond movement, the wings served as a nearly impenetrable defense. He could wrap them around himself to withstand powerful attacks, including the deadly flames of Amaterasu and the explosive force of Deidara's C2 dragons. However, they were not only for defense. Sasuke's wings could be used as brutal offensive weapons, slamming into opponents with enough force to break bones and send enemies flying. Perhaps the most fearsome ability granted by the Curse Mark was Onyx Chidori, a darkened and amplified version of his signature lightning technique. By infusing Chidori with the Curse Mark's chakra, Sasuke created an attack that was faster, stronger, and far more destructive than the original. Far from the standard Chidori, which was a concentrated stream of lightning, Onyx Chidori crackled with unstable black energy, carrying greater piercing power and the ability to penetrate defenses that normal Chidori could not. This technique symbolized Sasuke's evolution beyond Kakashi's teachings, marking his path toward a power that was uniquely his own. Despite the immense boost in strength, Sasuke never became dependent on the Curse Mark. In contrast with Jugo, the Sound Four, or even Orochimaru himself, he never let its influence dictate his actions. He wielded it like a tool, one that he would cast aside the moment it no longer served him. When the time came, Sasuke abandoned the Curse Mark entirely, allowing himself to progress beyond its limitations. For him, the Curse Mark was never a gift nor a curse. It was merely a stepping stone on his relentless journey toward true power. Thanks for watching till the end. See ya!